Welcome to Licking Non-Vanilla, a sex-positive hour of talk about kink, sexual mores, and writing dirty words. So grab a cup of cocoa, your favorite easy chair, and the lube as we go sailing into the dark, sweet waters of all things naughty. On Licking Non-Vanilla with your hosts Ralph Greco Jr. and M. Christian.
Hey everybody, welcome to Licking Non-Vanilla. This is a little depository here, so maybe a suppository sometimes, Chris, of some wackiness and some writing and some erotica and personalities. We have a great guest tonight. First of all, my name is Ralph Greco. I'm the host here on the East Coast with the most, and over there is M. Christian. Hello, Chris. How you doing? Chris is in Oregon, and how you doing, Chris? Yeah, hey, we're having a little stuttering here today, but we're gonna get through. And our guest is Mistress Marley. Hello, Mistress Marley. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Thank you for doing this. We're very happy to see you and
Of
meet
course.
you.
Of course.
Actually, I've seen a lot about you. I don't know. I guess through a couple magazines and a couple of things that Erica sent over, and so we're well aware of your Findom and all that great stuff you've been doing, opening well, let's go, Chris. We want to get back before we get into any of this. We just want to learn a little bit about your background because I know you came from the fashion buying industry. That was something you did way before you were doing what you're doing now, right?
Yeah. I've been living in New York now for 5 years. I moved here from the South, from North Carolina. So
Oh,
I
okay.
came, I came here for grad school, went to grad school for fashion marketing, and I started working in corporate fashion, 9 to 5. Very boring, very cut and dry, same day everything. And then I found my way into Findom through a Google search, and it was even to the point where I was doing Findom at my 9 to 5 job. So I would on my lunch break like work in dungeons or have sessions on my lunch break.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
before I fully transitioned out, I was like doing it secretly while on the
That's
job.
cool. Well, why don't you tell everybody what Findom is? We know what it is, but
Okay.
some of our listeners may not know what it is. So why don't you just describe, because that's a very specific uh, part of part of the domination field. So why don't you
Yeah.
let us give us a little insight on what that is exactly?
So Findom is short for financial domination. So it's a psychological kink that involves the submissive party giving their money to the dominant party just for existing. And usually in its exchange for humiliation. So sometimes they like to be humiliated. Sometimes they don't want anything at all. So they might just send you money. That's it. They don't need you to respond to them, send them anything. Sometimes they want to get on Skype and have you humiliate them and make them do like crazy things on Skype and
Right.
tell them how their money is yours and they can't
I got
spend this certain amount. So like I even have clients to where they'll go out on a night on the town and I'm like, you can only spend $20 with your friends. The rest belongs to me. Um, so it's mostly psychological and involves a lot of humiliation.
So, Chris, would we? I mean, I don't know, Marley, Mistress Marley. You seem to be a relatively younger lady than Chris and I are, quite younger. So, um, so in the kink field, yeah. What do I apply? In the kink field, is that Findom been something that's always been around, or has it been in a different kind of way that it was expressed years ago? Do you think?
So Findom became more popular in the last couple of years. It's really people have known more about traditional femdom, which is the female-led relationships where you take the subs to dungeons and you whip them and you do all those types of
Yeah.
things, which I still do that within my work. But Findom is something that it's a little bit newer.
Hmm.
I think maybe like there are men that give their money away, but they don't like to be told that they're fin subs or pay pigs. Like they don't
Hmm.
want the title. They just want to say they're spoiling a woman just for being who she is, just for being able to
Okay.
admire her online or whatever.
Right.
So different people call it different things. I call it findom, financial
Hmm.
domination. So it just depends on like what the person is comfortable with calling it.
Okay. So, Chris, you've seen this in the past. I mean, Chris goes back in the kink community in San Francisco specifically,
Hmm.
a bit. So, Chris, you've seen this kind of thing in the past, but it was probably not called this, right? As far as you know. Did we lose you, Chris? We may have lost. Okay. Okay. Chris, do we have you now? Okay. Okay. So let me ask you then, Mrs. Marley.
Okay.
It's just you and me at the moment then. Okay. So do you think, although it's something, it's kind of newer, but it's kind of been
Hmm.
around in the past. But
Hmm.
do you think there's a reason culturally why it's popular now? Findom is popular like within the last couple years or 5 years or whatever. Is there something in the
Yeah.
culture that you think speaks to it?
I think social media has a big part to do with it.
Okay.
Um, because like back in the day, like finding a dominatrix was pretty much, you might have to call a phone number or know somebody that
Right.
knew somebody. Now subs can get on social media and have access to like DOMs right away, from our content to our pricing to like where they can
Mm-hmm.
book us and stuff like that. And I think Findom became more popular in pop culture. For instance, there's a show called Euphoria. I
Hmm.
don't know if
Yeah.
you've ever heard of it.
Yeah.
So in season one of the characters in high school, her name is Kat. If you watch
Right.
season one, she was a financial dom in one of the episodes. So I
Okay.
think that exposed it. That exposed it to a whole new audience that wouldn't have ever been exposed to it before. Like people were watching
I'm
it right
sure.
away. People are like, "What is she doing? She's humiliating this man and getting money." And then they realize, "Oh, that's real. That wasn't just for a show. People actually
I
do
see.
that."
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sure it became. I'm sure that gave wildfire popularity to it because that show was
yeah.
very popular, and
Yeah, and even as a findom watching that, I remember I'm just chilling watching the episode and it came up. I literally hopped up like in my
right,
bed and I was like, I do that, I
right.
do that.
That's what I do. Yeah, that's
Right,
cool. That's
right.
real cool.
Yeah,
That's really
yeah,
neat. So,
yeah,
but recently you did open a new space in Brooklyn, right? Was it
yeah,
Brooklyn? Whips,
yeah.
and it's called Whips, right?
Whips Dungeon, yeah,
Right. But you opened that with a couple of the doms, right?
yes,
Some other ladies.
yeah.
Okay. So let's speak to that. Like, was that something that was always on your mind? I have to open a dungeon sooner or later, or did that just come about? How did that just come about?
It wasn't something that was always on my mind, but once the pandemic hit, it became more of a thought because a lot of dungeons started shutting down in
Right, right.
Manhattan. There's two dungeons that I used to go to work in that shut down, so I was stuck
Hmm.
with a dungeon that I like, because it's when you go to a dungeon, you want to trust the space, you want to trust the owners, you want to trust that you're safe there while you're doing your sessions. So
Makes sense.
I have two dungeons that I mostly go to shut down now because of the pandemic, whether they couldn't keep up with costs or because a lot of people stopped seeing in-person clients. So if
Right.
no one's seeing in-person clients, your dungeon's not going to run. No one's
No
paying you to
kidding.
come in. So
No
when I
kidding.
lost that, I was like, I told my dom, I call my dom sisters. I was like, we need to open a space because what's going to happen when there's no more spaces,
Yeah. No shit.
And
Right.
and we need to create a space where not only are we renting for sessions, but we're having kinky parties there and workshops, and
Hmm. Right.
people can rent us out for their own play parties and stuff.
Hmm.
So we wanted just a space that could do all of that all in one.
So how did you mentioned COVID? So how did,
Mhm.
for want of a better term, the transition or ease up over the time? What did you because you when you opened the dungeon, it was not it was kind of you're still in the middle of COVID, right? I mean, we're still in the middle of things at that point, right?
Well, we opened March this year, so
Oh, okay, all right, okay, there you
we
go,
just
all
opened
right,
in March. So as soon as we opened, I remember we had our opening party, and it was supposed to just be a tour of the dungeon, and it turned into a whole kinky party. Next thing I know, we're all whooping ass in there, and I'm like, "Woo, great way to bring in the dungeon."
no kidding.
Um,
We wrote
yeah,
about that
so
on
like
XBiz actually. Erica gave me the PR. I wrote about it on XBiz. Yeah, okay, so that's great. I'm
yeah.
glad to hear the party went well.
Yeah, so as soon as we open it, like I mean, Doms came in hot. What's your rental rates? I have a sub that needs a session next week. I need a space. So like it got crazy, and I'm like, oh, so
Hmm.
this was needed, especially in Brooklyn. There's not a lot of dungeons in Brooklyn, if any.
Okay.
There's probably one other one I know about that's public because some people might operate privately, but
Yes.
there's not a lot of dungeons in Brooklyn, and a lot of the Doms they get tired of having to travel to Midtown or Manhattan in the middle of the day to try to find
Right.
something.
Right. So did
Yeah.
you find that not just location, but because there was other places that had closed during the pandemic?
Yeah.
Are they coming back, or like did some just say, forget it, we're just going to stay closed?
Some just said forget it because honestly, it's hard to rebuild once you shut down like that.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm
Especially
sure.
in an environment where you have like you're a special category of a place. So DOMs need to rent you out. And say if you've been shut down for a while, DOMs have already been at other places now. They might not need to
No
come to
kidding.
you anymore. Yeah. So
Yeah, interesting.
yeah.
Let me just give a little ID here. You're listening to Licking Non Vanilla with me, your host Ralph Greco. One of your hosts, or the other host, we've lost, but we're going ahead, and that's Mistress Marley over there. We're talking to her. She's a Findom, and she's also a Dom, so you can come and see her in person, right? Um, is there anything you're doing in Findom that you won't do in person, and vice versa?
Hmm. I would say not really. I
Okay.
feel like a lot of stuff in FinDom can translate to being a pro dom. So I can humiliate someone in person. I could take someone's money in person. They bring it to me. I can take it in person.
Yeah.
I can tell someone to put on a woman's outfit and model for me in person. Like
Yeah.
there's so many different things. So I think it all translates over. But being a FinDom helped me transition into being a pro dom because I was online only at first.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was nervous about meeting people in person. I still had a lot to learn. So the
Yeah. Okay.
FinDom,
That makes sense.
FinDom gave me my dominant voice. They taught me how to be dominant over the internet first, get the verbiage up, like know how to
That's
really interact.
really interesting.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, that's real. I was wondering how one fed the other, but that's very interesting. So in other words,
yeah,
you really got your sea legs, so,
yeah,
so to speak, with
yeah,
FinDom, and
yeah.
understood what you want and where you wanted to be in your head,
Right,
and then
right.
well,
Yeah.
interesting, very
Yeah.
interesting.
And through Findom, I learned so many different kinks from subs. Subs would come to me and say, "Hey, goddess, can you do this to me?" And I would search it up and be like, "I can do that to you," and I'm going to learn more about how to do it. So,
Yeah.
and just coming into Pro Dom, it just transitioned beautifully. Yeah.
So then let's extrapolate from there. Then, is there stuff that you would do and have done in FinDom that you say absolutely I will not do in person, and vice versa?
Um, there's some subs that like to talk about like blackmail kinks online, just talk about it like a fantasy. I don't think I could ever make it come true in real life. I'm just not into getting into the whole thing about blackmail. Like, you truly have some subs that even want you to kidnap them, like really kidnap them. Um,
Yeah.
that to me isn't my thing. There's even some subs that talk about wanting to be castrated. I don't know how far
Right.
that really goes. But
Right.
I could talk about it as a fantasy all day. I could type about it and I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Just type about it. But to really do it in real life, I couldn't. I couldn't do that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I've seen some of the some of that stuff
Yeah.
online. I worked with somebody once, but she did like a whole the whole scenario fake. It didn't happen, but it was a
Yeah.
whole. But it was pretty intense.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's kind of an interesting kind of thing. I just, but so how, if you were to look at the percentage of what you do in any given week, what is the percentage that you're still doing FinDom, and what's the percentage that you're seeing clients?
I want to say it's 70% FinDom and 30% seeing clients in person.
Okay.
It definitely went up more ever since I got my own dungeon because now I don't have to worry about calling to see if this room is available at this time.
Yeah.
I could just pop up. It's my space. Like I can pop up whenever.
Right.
So I've really been doing more sessions, like more since my dungeon opened up.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what because when I was reading the press on the dungeon, and like again, I've read about it before,
Hmm.
because when you had the soft opening and all that stuff, so I knew you guys were, which is not just a dungeon.
Mm-mm.
You're doing other things at the dungeon, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the other things that happen at the dungeon.
So we're throwing play parties there. We've had like kinky game nights. We've had CFNM parties, which is closed female naked male parties. Um,
Right.
we even now have a Dom Academy, so we're teaching 12 newer Doms how to get into the business in the industry. So it's like
Cool.
a school. So we open up a whole school. We've even
Right.
had other people like so on Saturday we had somebody come there and shoot a horror film, completely non
Really?
completely
Oh,
non
that's
yeah.
that's so cool. That's
Yeah.
so cool.
So we have people from the outside even renting us out for like parties. Someone had a
Hmm.
bachelor party there with strippers. So like it's
Hmm.
a space for people to feel like they can rent without having to worry about all the rules of other vanilla spaces.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I don't know if you've ever been to the Armory in
Mm-mm,
San Francisco, where Kink
mm-mm,
is. Actually, Chris and I actually were in a convention and went to a party there, and
mm.
that's a huge space. But like you're saying, it's a space that's rented out for other things
Yeah,
because it has that vibe. There's the whole vibe there, and I
yeah,
know it's been used for movies, like you're saying, video, horror shoots, all
right.
that kind of cool stuff. So I think you're right. I think, and you own the space, so you could say,
Yeah,
well, bring in
Yeah.
whoever we want to bring in. You know.
Right, you can bring whoever you
Um,
want to bring in. You can have loud music. Like, with these vanilla spaces, you have to worry about every little thing. So we give that
right.
option to people.
So so let's talk about that then, because I just read something about a space that closed in the city that was a male sex party space,
Oh,
and
really?
he was closed because of zoning.
Oh,
And he really didn't actually get the permits he should have gotten, and that's where he got into trouble. But he
mhm,
also was making a lot of loud noise in the middle of the night. People were complaining, that kind of stuff. So it kind of led to it. So when
mhm,
you open up a dungeon, or you're thinking of opening up a dungeon,
mhm.
what are the? I mean, I'm sure there's tons of permits and things you have to go through, but
Yeah.
walk us through that process a little bit. You guys found the space, or you thought about it, and you said, "Oh, we got to go to Brooklyn." I mean, what was the process that went on?
So the Dom I opened the space with, Goddess Rue, it's actually her family home that her dad gave to her.
Wow.
So we got even more of an advantage. We own the space. We don't rent from like any of that. We don't have to worry about it being like a commercial space or anything.
Yeah.
It's basically a 3-story family home that we turned into a dungeon.
Wow.
So
That's
we
cool.
got lucky to be able to just have, because her dad back in the day used to deal with the industry and stuff like that. So when he heard
Yeah.
that we wanted to open a space, I mean, he did a lot of the handiwork in there for us. He built our St. Andrew's cross.
Wow.
So he did a lot of stuff. So yeah,
That's a cool story. That's just
yeah,
that alone is a very cool story,
yeah, yeah,
So it's a nice big house in Brooklyn then,
yeah,
because that's hard to find too. I mean,
yeah,
just do what and expensive as hell. If you're going to buy a space like that, it's just
yeah.
I mean, it's just
Yeah,
pejorative. You couldn't
and
even
we,
afford it.
because it was an older building, but we renovated it from like the ground up. Like everything that you see in the dungeon, we did with our hands, from painting to
Hmm.
everything. So we really wanted to make it our own.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And how long did it take you from inception? Like you get in this space, how long did it take?
I want to say we started November and had our open in March.
Man, you guys worked your asses off, huh?
Oh, we were in there almost every day of the week. We would take weekends off, but we were there almost every day of the week, all day.
Oh man.
Yeah,
So tell us the other ladies that are involved in if you can, if it's okay, tell us
yeah.
who the ladies are.
So the names are Goddess Rue and Goddess Bria. I met both of them through my Findom journey. So when I was first starting out in Findom, I had a booth at the Sex Expo in Brooklyn
Okay.
in 2019, and Goddess Bria came up to the booth. She was like, "I follow you on social media. We're friends on social media. This is my friend Rue. She runs a sex toy business, but she's trying to become a dom." So at that time, we were
Mhm.
all in the beginning of our journeys. And then
Okay.
we not only grew like working together as doms, we grew as just best friends. So we hang out together on
Hmm.
the regular, like even non-kink related. We'll go traveling with each other. We'll go to parties. We'll go out to eat. Like those are truly
Hmm.
like my sisters.
Oh wow, huh?
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah,
Because you could be friends with somebody, but not necessarily be able to work with them too.
right,
That
exactly.
could be funky too, right? You get like you love somebody, but you start working with him, you're like I hate this
Like,
person.
oh my gosh. And we still have our moments. We still have our moments sometimes where we're like, oh my God, just
Yeah.
shut up. But like for the most part, it's great to be able to build a space together, like, and be able to say my coworkers are also my best friends. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Wow.
yeah.
So tell us what the future is. I'm going to ask you about the future for you, and then let's talk about the space, the dungeon, because we are talking a lot about that. What do you see in the future for it, even for the next couple months or New Year or whatever?
I say just keep continuing the academy, having like a new semester every season or whatever, like spring, fall, summer,
Okay.
winter. Definitely having people rent us out more for even vanilla like events or whatever. Like we're just open to that. Um, Collaborating with more people too. Like I wouldn't mind getting together with another dungeon and we do something together. Just really
Hmm.
building more. Maybe eventually opening another space in another state. Maybe going down south like Atlanta. There's a
Okay.
great dungeon in Atlanta that just shut down and it's so sad. Well, they're shutting down in October, and it's so sad because the
Hmm.
people that bought their building are vanilla, so they're taking it away from even being a dungeon and just
Right. Not even close to
yeah.
it.
So
Yeah.
just opening spaces in other cities.
And it's funny you say that about the cities, because I'm an East Coast
Yeah,
person, so I've only ever lived here. I've been around a little
yeah,
bit, but there does seem to be differences in cities, certainly in European
yeah.
cities, to the
Right.
kink scene. What do you think the advantages of being in the East on the East Coast? The New York kink scene. If you could say like there's there's one thing that's got better than anywhere else, if it does have anything.
Any day of the week, I can go to a kinky party or event. Like any day of the week on
I
FetLife or
got
whatever.
you.
Like I'll have people hit me up on my social media like, do you know of any dungeons in Georgia? Do you know any dungeons in North Carolina? And I can't tell them anything. But here in New York, I can recommend so many spaces and so many parties. You know? So that's the advantage.
Right.
And truly being here in New York, I make so much money being a dom. There's kinky people all over this
Right.
place. Like,
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, New York is a pretty
yeah,
kinky lot of people. That's true. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that other
yeah,
than San Francisco, to tell you the truth. There may be Berlin and London, but I would say, yeah, this is pretty hot as far
yeah,
as kink
yeah,
goes.
exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. All right. So lastly, let's talk about your future specifically. What's happening with Mistress Marley? What are you setting your sights on? What are you thinking about? What may be
So I
happening?
have
You
a
think?
lingerie line called Pink Matrix, and for
That's right. I'm glad you reminded me of that. Okay,
it's really
let's talk
just
about that.
because I just started that in December, so I'm not a year old yet. But it's really just seeing where I can go with that. I'm doing a fashion show for it in London in October for Findom Ball. Yeah, so there's a
Oh, that's
dominatrix
cool.
ball October 1st in London. All doms from all over the world come, and it's like a legit affair. Like you wear gowns and all that. So I'm doing a
Yeah.
fashion show there. So really, just I'm trying to go back to my fashion roots, but making it work for me and how it makes sense with what I'm doing. Yeah, so
Makes sense.
just really growing in that, teaching more, collaborating more, traveling more, seeing how
Hmm.
more like kinky people are in other spaces, and really just growing as a person. You know, like I really love being a dominatrix because
Hmm.
I meet so many interesting clients. Like I've met clients that are now friends that have become
Hmm.
friends. Like they're still a sub when I need them to be a sub, but they're
Hmm.
also a friend if I need them to have a friend. Um,
Right.
just meeting so many interesting people, and my day, none of my days are the same, and that's what I like. I might wake up
Right.
today and just have
That's
a guy
great.
that wants to worship my feet, and then tomorrow I have somebody that wants to be castrated. You know, it's like you just never know.
Right. The fun. You're running the gambit, as they
Right.
say. Yeah. No. Okay. So that's funny. So let's tell people where they can find you, all the different places, and about the lingerie, the clothing thing too. So let's tell everybody. You tell us. I'll put it up on the blog when your
Okay.
show goes up, your episode goes up. But let's tell everybody right out of
So
your
you can
mouth. I
find me
want
on
you to tell everybody.
Instagram, Marley Mistress, but that's Marlee Mistress. I've been through 10 accounts with Instagram, so let's hope this is the last one, because if not, I'm literally gonna be over it. My
Okay.
Twitter is Eyes X on Fire, so EYESX on fire. Or you can just search Mistress Marley up there and I'll pop up. I also teach on my Patreon, so
Hmm.
patreon.com/Sex Academy. All of this stuff, if you go on my Instagram, is in the link in my bio. It's a one-stop shop. And then Pink
Okay.
Matrix is my lingerie line. So I
Okay.
created Pink Matrix for sex workers as priority. 10% of whatever sale I make, I donate to a sex worker foundation, organization, or whatever. The reason why I created Pink
That's
Matrix is
great.
because I feel like we wear the most lingerie, but a lot of these lingerie brands leave us out of their campaigns. They don't put sex workers in their campaigns. They don't talk about it. But we're the highest
That's
consumer
very
because we
true.
wear it in our work and our content, so we need it the most. So that's what that line is all
Hmm.
about. And I have sizes from extra small to 5XL, so I cover everybody's height there. Yeah, so that's where you can
That's
find
great. That's great.
me.
Wow. Wow, you got a lot going on. You really do. But
Yeah,
that's good. It's good to be busy,
exactly.
right? It's good to be
Yeah, and it
doing the
doesn't
thing
feel
you
like
love.
work when
So
you
what
love it,
what
you
could be
know.
better,
So
right? Yeah,
yeah,
that's true. That's true. And take that.
yeah,
That's the morsel we should all take and live on
yeah.
that one. That's for sure. Well, Mistress Marley, I can't thank you enough. I'm sorry we lost Chris, but we've been having a little difficulty across the country there. But we know you. This
Thank
has
you
been
so much.
wonderful. I really can't thank you enough. And we're going to get everything up and running. And when the episode's up, we'll let you know and
Yeah,
let
thank
PR know
you.
and all that stuff. We'll get it all going. But this has been wonderful. Thank you so much, Mistress Marley. It's wonderful to meet you.
Yes, thank
And just best of luck out there.
you.
And,
Always.
keep taking everybody's money.
You too.
Okay. You take care. Thank you. Bye bye.
And visit us on the web at www.lickingnonvanilla.com.